Welcome to the program agenda. Pasensya na kayo, hindi ko na alam kung saan ako titingin sa dami ng mga camera. Paiba-iba ang system, paiba. That is the reality of work from home. One day you are on Zoom, the other day you are on Google Meet, the next day you are on StreamYard, etc. Kasi syempre, marami rin po kasi tayong pinagkakaabalahan. But anyway, welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Thanking you for joining us this Friday, the beginning of another weekend. Yes, if I am not mistaken, it is the first weekend of February. And today is February 4, 2022, Friday. And we do hope you'll join us, stay with us, because I think what we are going to talk about in this episode or in this program for today will be of interest and good news naman. Kasi lagi na lang pong napapag-usapan yung kung paano kukontrahin ang COVID, etc., lockdowns, etc. Yung kausap natin for today, two individuals. First would be Joey Concepcion, who is pushing and has been pushing for a rollout of the pandemic. Kumbaga sa kanya, puro tayo roll out this, roll out that, pero pwede bang gumulong na tayo palabas ng pandemic? And he is proposing that the government starts rolling out its exit plan. Kasi kung puro na lang remain, walang exit plan, wala tayong goal. And where there is no goal, then there is no forward movement. Okay, so we'll be speaking with Joey Concepcion in a while, and then after that, we will be speaking with with someone, a young lady or young woman who talks about financial knowledge, etc., financial literacy in the digital age. Siya po ay isang tinatawag na expert in financial management, Rose Fres Fausto. So do join us. But before that, let's start with the day's daily starter. And our daily starter for today is from Proverbs 16:9. Okay, Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his path. Marami po sa atin. Many of us come up with plans. Oh, this year, I'm going to do this. This year, we will travel there. This year, we are going to start the project, etc., etc. Or I want to go for my bachelor's degree or my master's, etc. But suddenly, the Lord said, teka, asikasuhin mo muna si mama at si papa mo. Kasi hindi mo alam, bilang na ang oras nila. I was speaking with someone yesterday who wanted to join certain competitions but was torn between work, keeping her job, taking care of her parents, or joining the competitions. And sabi ko, competitions will always be there. And if God wants you to be in those competitions, nothing on this planet can stop you or will stop you. However, loving our parents or our family or doing or performing our task and responsibility, that has to be the priority. Hindi po ito social pressure. Kumbaga, marami kang pinaplano, pero si Lord, alam niya yung mga plano niya. Yung pala, bukas makalawa, wala na si papa mo, wala na si mama mo. Or baka gawa ka ng plano, ikasasama mo. I've written a column about that where I told friends to let go and let God because they kept pushing against all the obstruction, against all the challenges. And I said, did it ever occur to you that maybe God is trying to take you out of that bad situation? So that's a reminder for today. A man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his path. Now let's go. I will now direct your path to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline for the Philippine Star, Duterte in quarantine after COVID exposure. Salamat na lang sa Diyos na hindi naman daw nag-test positive. He did not test positive. Actually, he was negative for COVID-19 after 2 tests. And that photo in the upper front page of the Philippine Star shows Senator Bongo, the president, wearing the beige PPP, PPE, PPE suit, and sitting next to the president is his personal physician. So, kumbaga, everything's okay, pero quarantine. Kumbaga, okay lang yan, sir. Matikman mo naman yung ginagawa mo sa amin for your own benefit. This is for your health, Mr. President. Nagbibiro lang po. Anyway, that's the headline of the Philippine Star. On the upper part, Congress ratifies BICAM SIM registration bill. Inaprubahan na or niratify na, kumbaga, pinasa ng Joint Senate Congress Congressional Committee yung mandatory registration ng SIM card. So kayo po na mga naka prepaid, kayo ang uunahin. You will be required to submit documents and register your SIM card. Kasi po, this is against terrorism, this is against cybercrime, against fraud, etc. Mabuti na po ito para mabawasan na yung mga troll, mabawasan na yung mga walang ya na nanggugulo sa buhay ng mga nananahimik. Okay, so after a while, siguro before summer comes, baka pirmahan na yan ni Presidente na lahat tayo yung mga prepaid. Kasi mga postpaid, registered naman lahat yan. Alam kung sino may-ari ng mga postpaid SIM card. But those prepaid, magpaparehistro na tayo. Okay. Now, experts oppose removal of COVID alert system. Kasi may mga baka sakali ba, nagkakatang isip. Sabi, ano kaya if we just remove this COVID alert system, itong mga level 1, level 2, etc. But the experts all over the country have said, no way, Jose. Kasi hindi pa naman wala at hindi pa gone forever yung COVID na yan. And alert levels have function and purpose in a world where disasters, where disease have become more common and pandemic in a way. Okay, now, jobs for kids, yung supposed to be launch. Kumbaga, umpisahan lang nila. Hindi naman ipapatupad nationwide na. But the idea was to launch. Kumbaga, ceremonial, vaccination of children from 5 to 11 postponed. Now, there are two reasons and situations resulting in this. But primarily kasi hindi dumating, hindi nakalanding yung 700,000 plus doses of Pfizer pediatric COVID-19 vaccine. So, ayun po, walang ibabakuna. And also, there is a move by the Public Attorney's Office to in court to hold in abeyance, pigilan itong pagbabakuna sa mga bata dahil masyado raw highly scientific experiment. Okay, now let's go further. The middle of the Philippine Star, or there in your camera now, or in your screen lower, meron, ewan ko kung magtataho yan o shake, pero yung the pictures or caricatures of the presidential candidates were featured in a fruit shake container being sold somewhere in Mandaluyong City. Kumbaga, ayan, sabagay, ganti-ganti na lang, nininegosyo tayo ng mga politiko, negosyo hindi natin yung pagmumukha nila. Okay. Anyway, Bongbong skipping KBP Presidential Forum. Ayan. Sigurado po putaktihin na naman si presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. is skipping the first live face-off among presidential candidates set today by the KBP or Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster sa Pilipinas. Makes you kind of wonder if he knows that he is going to be criticized harshly, insulted, and lampooned for not participating in the presidential debates or presidential anong tawag nila dito, face off, you kind of wonder, is he doing this on purpose? Baka naman kasi dahil pinagpuputaktin niyo siya, ang sinasabi sa kanya ng PR niya, good news is still, bad news is still good news. Okay? Kumbaga napapag-usapan siya, nare-replay yung pangalan niya, etc. I don't know. Anyway, on the bottom left of the Philippine Star, a photo of Undersecretary for DTI, Ruth Castelo, talking to a young girl at tawag mo nga dito, game center. Kumbaga, ito yung mga lugar pinagdadala ng mga bata who that can play in the malls. And ito po, kasi medyo nagiging area of concern itong mga game centers na ito. Kasi nakamask ka nga, naka-social distancing ka, pero wala namang gloves at yung mga kamay because yung kaibigan ko po, diyan nadali yung anak niya. That's where his child got COVID. Pumunta sa isang game center, pag-uwi, ayun na, umuubo-ubo na. Anyway, ingat na lang po. Good news, COVID-19 tally of cases down to 8,702. And that is good news kasi nanggaling naman tayo sa 23,000, etc. But the number of deaths, Filipinos dying from COVID-19, still high. 71 people died yesterday. Meanwhile, the COA, Commission on Audit, confirms that Quezon City has complete 2020 audit documents and belies fake news. Kasi nagkabintangan yata dito, sinabi ng party list Congressman Mike Defensor that the COA recently investigated the QC local government regarding purchases. Sinabi ng COA, fake news. Okay, ayan na po. Ha? And last but not the least, Supreme Court. Courts in NCR closed today for bar exams. Pagsubok po ng mga gustong maging abogado ngayong araw at sa mga susunod na linggo ba o buwan. But so Supreme Court and NCR closed for today. Okay, let me catch my breath now. Let's go to our first interview. Suking-suki. Baga, parang go negosyo di ba? Para nating ninenegosyo itong pandemic na ito Well, not negosyo, but it's become a way of life. Talking about the pandemic, we will first interview today none other than Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion to find out what's the next step. There we go. Joey, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cito.
Okay. I think we've reached a long way. We've gone a long way in this pandemic, considering what started in 2020, 2021, and early 2022. It seemed like from bad to worse to nightmare, and now it seems to be good already. What's the next step?
Well, 22 months, or basically going 23 months into this pandemic, I think we have experienced a lot and learned a lot from this situation. And that, as you can see, we have moved for the reduction of quarantine for arriving foreigners even, and now balikbayans, OFWs. So that's a big move on the part of IATF, and I'd like to thank them for really listening to the private sector. We've also requested that the alert levels be moved down to alert level 2, which was done. And now we are looking, and the private sector will be meeting in about 10 days to discuss what is the bare minimum health protocols that we can move into that will not require any alert level. I think people misunderstand when we say, let's take off the alert levels. The idea of that is to it's like a storm. No, when you have bad weather, you don't declare typhoon number one, number two, and leave it there for a long time. No, when the situation is normal, and we have to make Filipinos realize that the situation will get to that normal level. Omicron was the first least variant that was highly transmissible, but many of the cases were mild, and that's why we did not seek hospitals, despite the numbers going up close to 30,000. Flood people did not flood the hospitals. No, that
Mhm.
was a clear indication. So let's hope that Omicron and similar variants will be the same, no, like Omicron. So that allows us to start to live and move on, no, a normal life with caution. And what is that uh, uh, bare minimum protocol that we can do? Now we can raise up alert levels if there is another variant that is much, more virulent than Omicron. No, so we are not saying scrap it totally. Use it at the right time. No, so when cases do go down to 1,000 a day in NCR or even less, similar to what happened with Delta, then let's call it no alert level. No, so
Mhm.
that's what we're trying to say. No.
Okay, now here's my concern, and I believe you've shared this concern likewise regarding testing, because uh, the fact of the matter is the government, whether it can or cannot afford it, is not giving free testing for RT-PCR. And the DOH, for its part, is really dragging its foot. I'm sorry, but I can't call it anything else but dragging its foot in terms of allowing the public use, the commercial availability of antigen tests. Because, as you know, my daughter is living in the Netherlands as a student, and the government actually provides them two free antigen test kits each. And if after two tests you test positive, you report to the public health and they give you a free RT-PCR. And may mga nagsasabi dito, kung hindi kaya ng gobyerno, payagan yung mamamayan, allow the private sector, the citizens, and the commercial groups to make antigen test kits available so we ourselves can tell whether we are sick or not. Now, what is your position? What is the sentiment of the business people regarding commercializing and making antigen test kits available to the public?
Well, actually, for a long time, antigen test kits have been available to the private sector. You just have to, all the brands, we can access this. Now,
Mm,
to sell them in the different drugstores, I think that can easily be done. No, I mean, many of these antigen test kits are credible. They're used in all over the world, SD Biosensor, Abbott, and etc. I mean,
mm.
I believe that they can be rolled out to the different drugstores. And like in America, the same thing is being done here. No, so I don't know up to how much the government can take in all the spending. No, they are already buying the vaccines. They're buying a lot of testing equipments. Now, antigen tests is not cheap. No, it's anywhere range between 400 to 800 bucks per uh, per antigen kit. So if you buy a box, then that can run
About
into 15,
9,000.
20,000. Yeah, depends on how the content of that. No,
Yeah.
but private sector is doing it right now. We do that for our employees. But now we are also calibrating, no, the amount of testing that we do, because it's also quite expensive to do it very frequently.
Yeah, but what about getting the support of the private sector to lobby the DOH and the government? Payagan nyo nang makabili yung ordinaryong mamamayan. Kasi in other countries, people just do it. You know, it's almost like, it's weird, Joey. No, I think you would find the irony in it. You can buy a pregnancy test kit, but you can't buy an antigen test kit. I mean, lives are at risk. People, your employees can be contaminated riding a jeep. People can be responsible for their health if we give them the means to get the tools and be responsible. So parang
I
good for you guys in the private sector. You can buy it, but The people out on the streets are telling me this. Parang, Kuyang, may pambili naman kami, but why are they not allowing us to buy?
I think they approved two brands already, home antigen test kits. No,
Hmm.
uh, I think that should be out pretty soon. No? I don't see any reason why they should not allow it because everybody is using it. So I let me follow that up and see how far they are in the process. But I'm confident that they will allow this to be sold in what you call this the different drug stores. Now, of
Mhm.
course, one has to know how to use it. No, you
Yes.
can make a mistake in doing it. So for example, in my case, it's my daughter who does it to us, no, and she's good at it. So you have to learn how to do it, no, or else you can have a false positive or a false negative, no. So it has to be you have to learn how to do it. So I'm almost certain the government will not stop that. I think they will allow it, and we do give antigen test kits also to our employees
Mm.
when they're sick, no. So we tell them how to use it. So we give it to them for those who get sick, no,
Okay, now
for free.
regarding the things you've for the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, you've been saying that the government needs to roll out the exit plan. Okay, we shouldn't take away the alert levels per se, unilaterally. We should use it as you to quote you like they use typhoon signals. Excuse me. Kung may rise in cases, then we bring out the alert level protocol. But other than alert levels, what were you referring to in terms of an exit plan? What exactly would be the exit? Should the exit plan be in your mind?
Well, talking to Sec Vince and Sec Galvez and Inex, I think they're aligned with us now because they're also looking at an exit plan towards an endemic. But what is that? No, for example, I'm right now in the Bay Area in California. There is no alert level here, but you can see there is a percentage allowed of capacity in restaurants. People have to show their vaccination cards, and now they have now to show their booster cards because boosters are being rolled out. No, so
Mhm.
and there are certain health protocols that are basic. The stores have the proper hygiene, and everybody within the stores, the frontliners, are properly masked. No? So
Mm.
that is what I'm trying to say. In other words, in a normal scenario where there is no real imminent threat of a new variant, what is the protocol? So we define from alert level 1, 2, and 3. What are we going to keep, you know, as a normal way of moving on in life? No, as you can see, Denmark, UK, and many European countries have thrown out every possible anti-COVID measure. No? They've thrown out face masks, they've thrown out social distancing. We're not advocating for that. What we are saying is that we can live in a normal life. Let's define these protocols that allow a normal life and we move on. No? Let's
Mm.
not get stuck with all alert levels when there is really no imminent real threat, no, that will be much more dangerous than Omicron. No? Because if Omicron continues and the next variant B2 will be more transmissible but milder, then we can continue the way we are without an alert level. That's what I'm
Well,
trying to say.
Hmm. Well, there is a point to that because recently people have already been saying, ano pa, bakit pa tayo nag-promote ng tatlo-tatlong bakuna kung hindi naman pwedeng lumabas ang tao, praning tayo, we are always so scared. I mean, for those of us who are double vax and boosted, it defies logic if we are still living in fear. But what what's your response, or what is the sentiment of the business sector regarding local government officials who, rightly or wrongly, seem to be just so hyper cautious or paranoid regarding rising COVID cases in their localities. And so what they do is, well, I don't know about you guys, but kami maghihigpit, you're gonna have to either comply or stay away.
Well, there are exceptions. So for example, like in NCR, which is almost close 100% fully vaccinated, we can move to that the system whereby you use alert levels when there is an imminent threat. Now, there are areas within the Philippines, like certain areas of Visayas and Mindanao, that vaccination rates are not even at the 60%, 70% level. No, so to me, one condition to that is that these areas have to at least be at 70% and above, no, before we move into what we call this new normal or moving on. No, I'd like to use the word endemic, but we will be criticized by a lot of people. No, I mean, when you see the potential of really moving towards endemic, I was telling people, claim it, no, because it will happen if you say it's going to happen. I mean,
Mm.
in our religious belief. But then again, I mean, what is that moving on or new normal that we can adopt that will not post an alert level? No, that's what I think Sec Galvez and TINS are now thinking of, and the private sector is also going to meet on this, and we will discuss it, and hopefully together we come to an agreement on what are these basic health protocols that have to continue regardless whether there is an alert level or not. No?
Okay, now going back to the exit plan that you have been suggesting for the government to roll out, what about the private sector? Uh, a lot of the employees, executives are kind of debating or wondering aloud about this. Uh, Kailangan bang mandatory na back to work? Can for some people, can they be given the option of a flexi work schedule, like half at home, half? You're in the States. You said you're in the Bay Area. I think it's become very popular and the preferred option in the United States that people do the flexi plan or actually mostly work from home already.
Well, yeah, that's true. My daughter, who is with us here and works in New York, is allowed to work from where we are right now in the Bay Area. No? So yes, they have digitalization is really well entrenched here, and connectivity, as you can see, is much more superior in America, of course, than in the Philippines. So you get it. I mean, nobody has a problem with Cignal here in terms of fiber, speed and all of that. So yes, that is the situation. But in the Philippines, it is not the same. In certain areas, we don't have that ability, to reach our people at faster speeds, in terms of digital communication. So there are companies like us today. I mean, we are basically doing 3 days work from office, 2 days. 3 days work from office and 2 days work from home. No? But eventually, as the situation improves, we will move that 4 days work from office and 1 day work from home. I believe that we have to bring back that face-to-face interaction. People will forget on how to deal in the human way, of course, and I think it'll be healthy for many of our people to really go back and get back that regular rhythm. And of course, when people start to go out of their homes, you have mobility. With mobility, you have economic activity. And that's why bringing back people to the offices creates that mobility, which is very important for the economy. And likewise with schools, which our kids have not seen a teacher in the last 24 months. And that high school is only 4 years. They're gonna miss 2 years already of that. Imagine that. So how will they meet their boyfriend or their girlfriend? No? How will they? I mean, where's that social interaction? So that's lacking, and we know that our friends, come really when we are in a grade school, high school. No? So we have to get back to that normal point. And of course, economic activity. When you have school, there's
Mm.
mobility and there's economic activity. Canteens and all of that will do much better because people will eat out, etc. So this is what I'm trying to say is that we have to really move on. We cannot live in fear. And I just realized that coming here, and Father Nick told me, when you go to America, you will realize where the Philippines is and where we are missing out. And that
What,
is, and my brother said the same thing. And I came
what's
here and
your
I was shocked.
what? Sorry, Joey. What's your realization when regarding what Father Nick said? That would be my last question because we've reached the time. But what was your realization between what's in the Philippines and what's in America, as far as Nick pointed?
Well, when I landed here and I started to, my brother said, it's safe here. I said, no, look at the cases. But we came here, we went to the restaurants, we dined in the restaurants, we watched the basketball games. There were 16,000 people. Yes, there is a risk of infection, but people get infected. They stay home and they get well and they move on. No, so yes, there is mobility here, but people are cautious. They ask for your vaccination cards. No, whether you go to a restaurant or whether you go to a coliseum, that is very
Mhm.
strict. That's an identification. So you can see people are going out, people are mingling, but everybody is wearing a mask. I would say maybe the Bay Area is the exception where the compliance is very high. But still, what I'm trying to say is it feels like a normal life, and of course. You still have to be careful, no, because the level of infection is almost similar to that of the Philippines. So yes, but everybody you can see they are moving about, and everything is very normal here. So that is the kind of feeling you get, and that's where I think the Philippines should start to draw. What is your basic minimum? You get to a restaurant, it's not packed. No, I think their capacity level is anywhere between 80% to 100%. No, so and there's a lot of outdoor dining, and they provide the sidewalks and some of the streets for that outdoor dining space, and you see that all over. So what I'm trying to get at is that I think it's about time. The world is opening up. We need our economy to be stimulated. Hopefully, the next two remaining quarters of this administration uh, hit high numbers in the GDP, and we end up with a strong finish so that when we turn over the economy to the next administration, it's with flying colors. No? And we to hopefully turn over the health situation, not with an alert level 1 or 2, but with a situation that there is no alert level, but we are maintaining the basic health protocols that will keep the infection from spreading. No?
Okay, well, that's very hopeful testimonial because I know for a fact that there are so many people here who want the normal things to come back. Sabi mo nga, sidewalk dining. Bawal lang mag-park sa kalsada, bawal pang mag-sidewalk dining. Anyway, we will keep pushing, we will keep believing, and we will claim that we can live and fight COVID-19 at the same time. Thank you very much, Joey. And do get some R&R time there with your family, especially with your daughter. God bless you, bro.
Thank you, Cito.
Okay, that's Mr. Joey Concepcion, Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship. Pasensya na po kayo kung natatawag ko siyang bro kasi he is been like a brother. His father and my father were very good friends. And let's now go for a quick break. And when we return, let's talk financial know-how with our next guest here on Agenda. Okay, program terms of activities basahin ko na lang, no? Kasi marami-rami, and it establishes why we asked her to join us. Was the grand prize winner of the first CINAG Financial Literacy Digital Journalism Award in 2014, honored as one of the three She Heroes in 2019. She sits on the board of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development. She has written books entitled Raising Pinoy Boys, Retelling of the Richest Man in Babylon. Basahin niyo po yung libro yun. Very important yun. The Richest Man in Babylon, The Ant Intelligence and Emotional Cycle. She is also a columnist of the Philippine Star. Let's bring in our next guest, Rose Fres Fausto. Rose, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Cito. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Oh, ang napaka-bubbly mo, pero hindi nila alam, COVID survivor
Oo.
ka and you are still recovering.
Ayan, oh. I'm using this right now.
Like, okay. Well, okay lang yan. I hope it was a mild case
Yes.
and not one of the more serious ones. Kumbaga, katulad ka na namin, ex-COVIDs.
Yeah.
Okay? Hindi
First time to hear that. First time.
Ex-COVIDs ka na rin. Okay, now, Rose, you out of 4 people whose names were sent to me, I said, get that lady, she's a fresh face. She hindi siya gasgas at di ba? May mga tao kasi napapagka-suspecha na commercialized na. And I said, no, let's get someone that people could connect to. And you're a Philippine Star columnist. So anyway, in this situation, it's a bad situation. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have had no income for 2 years. They're selling their stuff. They're trying to bail themselves out, and it's come close to home already. It's already in practically every household. Now, what would be your advice to people who would go, Rose? How can we get out of this? How can we get a second, kumbaga kailangan namin ng booster. Ano ba ang pwede namin gawin?
Yeah, I think the first step there is to really have that mindset that this is a temporary situation. It's different kasi if you feel na ito na ang palad ko. Wala, you're not gonna do anything about it anymore. But if your belief is that this is just a temporary situation, you're just gonna go and lahat magtutulungan yan sa buong katawan mo to go to that, ano ba talaga yung dapat? Saan ba dapat ako naroroon? So when it comes to having, nawalan na ako ng trabaho, na-lay off ako, etc., etc. So I think we have to now think, ano ba mga skills ko talaga? And how can I earn from this? Even if I am not employed, I don't have to wait to be picked by all these employers. What can I do for myself? So that kikita talaga ako. Dahil wala tayong magagawa, kailangan talaga nating lahat ang pera
And that's your personal background, right? Or recent history. You were a investment banker. And then you decided to become a full-time mom, and then you
Yeah.
became a financial mentor online. What were the challenges?
Okay, so
Yung psychological challenge, di ba? Kasi parang, hello, investment banker ako, biglang
diba, yabang.
ganito. Oo.
Nakakatawa sinabi mo yan. So ako, I've never really had any self-image na housewife. However, when the kids started coming, so sinabi mo nga, investment banker, alam mo yun kasi investment banker, may pagka-highfalutin yun Pag sinabi mo investment banking, you do loan syndications, initial public offering, financial advice, and financial packaging. Ito yung mga non-traditional financial services. So, ang nangyari, nung nagdadatingan na yung mga anak namin, parang yung pagiging nanay ko na antig. Kasi bata pa ako, wala pa nga akong boyfriend noon Ang dream ko talaga magkaroon ako ng mga bibong-bibong anak.
Mhm.
So feeling ko, because it was a high-stress job, profit center, naisip ko parang hindi ko yata magagawang ipalakihin to mga anak ko na bibong-bibong pag hindi ako nakabantay. I realized early on that in my line of work, I couldn't be meaningfully involved in the day-to-day activities of my children. But it's not the formula for all. So
Mhm.
yun, naging ano ko, sinabi ko, syempre nag-pencil pushing, nagdasal kami mag-asawa. And then finally, when I decided, o sige, ito na. Ah, di syempre, kalahati ng income namin
Mm.
nawala.
Mhm.
And little did I know, Sito, na ito yung naging seed ng aking pagiging FQ mom. Kasi talaga namang bantay. Talagang I was watching our expenses like a hawk. Talagang to the last centavo, natatawa ka ako. Minsan nagre-reklamo na yung asawa ko noon. Sabi niya, ha,
Eh,
talaga kailangan i-account?
sabihin mo sa kanya, I send him my condolences. Dahil
O pero
ganyan din.
natuwa siya.
Okey, okey. Sige. So,
Ilocano ba? Asawa mo,
hindi,
Ilocana?
hindi, taga Holland. Mas
Ah,
malupit.
ay, oo nga. Mas malapit ba?
Okay. So anyway, so you had to tighten the reins, hinigpitan mo yung gastos, binantayan yung accounting, and so what happened?
And so what happened was that naging very efficient kami in terms of managing money. Kasi ngayon, nakatutok na talaga ako. Tapos, pati yung halimbawa, we did not stop saving and investing. Imagine ha, nangalahati yung income, pero parang kasing nakasanayan na namin yan na it was a regular thing to do, just like
Mhm.
brushing your teeth, sabi ko nga sa mga anak ko. So, kalaunan, nag-grow din itong aming what we call the net asset value. It's your total assets minus
Mhm.
liabilities. So, ganun po yon. Parang
Kasi
kung may
nawala
ano,
kasi
oo, go
nawala
ahead.
yung luho,
Mm-mm.
Rose.
Yes.
Because ako, I've lost 40% of my income
Mm,
just because of the pandemic, and some people I know totally lost everything.
correct.
And I followed what you did. I still pay my tithes to the Lord. I still pay my commitments, or give my commitments to those who are really in need. And hindi naman kami kinakapos, pero binawasan ko talaga yung luho. Kumbaga,
Mm-mm.
kung binigay libre, thank you. Kung libre, thank you. Pero yung magbubunot ako sa kakaunti, I don't do it. Now, in your case, how did you go about it? How did you actually end up saving more or growing your net asset when you've already lost 50% of your income?
Siyempre, the growing didn't go right away, ano? Didn't happen right away. So talagang lahat ng mga tawag nga namin, lahat ng mga chichirya. So siguro yung mga papunta-punta sa mall. I mean, going to the mall is really expensive and most of the time unplanned, 'di ba? Yung mga expenses mo,
Correct.
uy, ganda nun, uy, ganyan yan. Sabi nyo, ano lang kayo, no? Manonood lang kayo ng sine. Pero syempre, pag nood nyo ng sine, may popcorn, may pagkain. Tapos habang naglalakad talaga kayo, it really the environment. Nako, Sito, ito yung kasi the way I teach about money and family is it's focused on the actual behavior. I use principles in behavioral economics.
Okay,
So ano ba
can you
to?
do us a walkthrough, mabilisan, but I have to bring you
Oo.
back again kasi kinakapos tayong oras, but
Yes.
in 5 minutes or so, can you walk us through this?
Behavioral economics, simply speaking, is just the fusion of traditional economics, which always assumes na rational tayo mag-isip at mag-decide, di ba? Ina-assume natin rational, pero sa totoo lang hindi. So it fuses with psychology. What
Mhm.
really happens? So di ba, normally sasabihin natin, okay, financial literacy lang ang sagot dyan. Pag alam nila, gagawin na nila. Hindi totoo yun. Tingnan mo na lang sa health, di ba?
Mm.
Sino bang hindi may alam sa atin na kailangan kumain tayo ng maayos, matulog, mag-ehersisyo? Pero sino gumagawa? 'Di ba? So really, going back again, I mentioned this kasi we talked about the environment, 'di ba? If you're walking along sa mall, if all the temptations are there, gosh, talaga namang you will succumb somehow, 'di ba?
Mhm, mhm.
So we have to be very, very aware of what our environment is. What is the design of our everyday
Kumbaga
life?
kumbaga katulad kami, nagwo-walking kami. I said, "Tara, we have to do our walking again. We're not, to become healthy again." Ang problema, sabi ko, doon tayo sa mall mag-walking para hindi masyadong mainit. Pagkatapos doon din kami nagdi-dinner, nagalit na yung misis ko. Sabi, Beltran, nakatatlong gabi ka nang kumakain sa mall, hindi tayo mayaman. So, depart from me, Satan, ika nga. Get away
Correct.
from the environment.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Mm.
So di ba
Then,
ganun yun? Sa temptation talaga. And we have to be aware that we have designed our environment today such that, ganito nung araw, Sito, dapat may pera ka para ka makabili, di ba? And then
mhm,
came the credit card. So dapat meron kang credit card para ka mabili. Pero magbibihis ka muna. Eh ngayon, wala eh, di ba?
mhm.
Shopping online na in your PJs 24/7. So ang environment po dyan, tanggalin nyo muna yung mga app na nagte-tempt sa inyo all the
Yung
time.
mga Shopee, Lazada, mga
Mm,
HMR, et cetera.
correct.
Kasi ako, yung sa'kin, yung sumpa ko ngayon, yung HMR na yan, 'pag biglang may nag-notification, naku, layuan mo ko, demonyo. Kasi talagang mapapagastos ako. Well, it's correct that, you
Correct.
need to remove that, okay?
Yes. So, yun. Yun ang parang pinaka-approach ko, no? Let us not always count on our willpower because the willpower is a finite resource that is also used up. Alam mo, ito napakagandang study nito. Yung mga judges, pagkagutom na sila, babagsak yung chances mo na makakuha ka ng parole. Pero kung bagong kain sila, mas mataas ang chances. So, ego depletion. So we
Mhm,
always have to take care of our mental health, 'di ba? Our,
mhm,
our emotional well-being. So that hindi tayo masyadong palagastos, yung ganon, yung
mhm.
masyadong kung ano-ano yung ginagawa para mapagtakpan kung ano yung gap, kung ano yung gaping hole na sa atin.
Tsaka 'wag tayo sigurong masyadong pity me. Kasi
Oh,
yun
yes.
ang common, eh, na listening
Yes.
to you, I realize that, yung parang kawawang-kawawa na kami kasi,
Mm.
matagal na kami hindi nakakalabas. Hindi mo naman kailangan
Deserve ko
yumaman.
naman, 'di ba?
Oo,
Deserve ko
tapos
naman.
magre-revenge buying ka.
Ayun.
Yun, okey. So sige, continue,
So yun,
professor.
ano pa ang gusto mong malaman tungkol diyan? So
Well,
yan lang ang sinasabi ko na parang kailangan talaga maging aware tayo. No matter how great the financial lesson you learn from me today or from whoever finance
mhm.
guru that you're following, as long as you do not put a design that will make it easy for you to do that regularly, wala pong mangyayari.
Okay,
Para
now,
ka lang nanood.
siguro Rose, well, by the way, Rose, no, Joey Concepcion, who is in San Francisco, I believe, just sent me a message. Napapanood niya tayo and sabi niya, papasali ka raw niya doon sa Women's Summit nila sa Go
Oh,
Negosyo.
sure.
Kasi,
Hi, Joey. I don't know if he still remembers me, but his companies were our clients. I used to be with All Asia Capital. I never
okay.
really handled his account, but
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
he was
now
one of our clients.
he is a social entrepreneur, so to
I
speak.
know.
So talagang
Yeah.
malaking bagay. Anyway, going back to sa sinasabi na one big issue I think in the hearts and minds of many Filipinos now and even in the world, yung in desperate times, para bang barko ayaw mong lumubog, ayaw mong capsize. So itatapon mo, you unload, you start unloading things. And many Filipinos are selling stuff. In my
Mm.
column today, sinulat ko in my column in the Philippine Star, how I sold 160 books. Kasi napatingin ako
Ah.
dito, next week, wala na lahat yung libro na yan, mapapalitan na yan ng ibang bagay. No? Kasi sabi ko, I'm out of the car collection business. I stopped that already. It's a bad hobby. Marami sa atin kasi may mga hobby na bad eh. So I said, I'm gonna sell it. And I'm giving the money to someone in need. Now, hindi ako santo, no? Pamilya eh. So sabi ko, hindi, ayoko nang makita itong librong to. Benta ko na lang, may matutulungan pa. But other people are forced to sell out of circumstance. Should they really feel bad about it, or should their attitude be, I'm here to survive, not to sentimentalize?
I think the latter. Kasi yun nga eh, parang if push comes to shove, yun na sinasabi, no? I always say that you have to make an inventory of what you have. Just go, we are so good at accumulating things. And during the pandemic, we realized how many pairs of shoes, how many bags do I really need? Nako, I'm so not used to wearing shoes now. So yung ganon. So
Na
take
natatawa ako kasi mga kaibigan kong mga sneaker addicts ngayon umiiyak. Sabi ko, "Bumili na lang kayong rugby baka may pag-asa pa." Kasi yung mga swelas ng mga highly collectible shoes
oh
nila,
yeah.
nagngangahan na. So, okay,
Oo.
we realize marami tayong ano.
Oo.
Oh, okay,
And
go
that
ahead.
taking an inventory will allow you to like what you did, ano, sell and get some liquidity, magkakapera ka, and also take para bang make an inventory of your skills as well. So isama mo
Hmm,
na yung mga
okay.
possession mo at saka yung skills mo. And when you have a clear awareness of what you're good at, magagamit mo yan para madagdagan yung income mo ngayon.
Mhm.
So
Alam
I
mo
think this is very
yeah.
important.
Yeah, alam mo Rose, ako walang hiya ako eh. Okay?
Mm.
In many ways, walang hiya ako talaga. If I have to work as a caminero, I will work as a caminero. I have done it. I've been a laborer. I have lived in a nipa hut for months or years on end in Palawan. So, kumbaga
Yung
ano, wala
Palawan
nang
naman pala, eh.
Oo, hindi. Pero ano pa
Okey.
rin yun, nipahat
Lipat
pa
pa
rin yun.
rin.
May
Yeah,
tuko
yeah.
pa rin dun, may lamok pa rin dun, meron pa ring ano
Oo.
dun, alupihan ano, alupihan
Yeah.
dagat pa. But there are people na parang I think their question is, what about my dignity? How low can I go? How low do I go? Do I sell all? Do I make utang?
Mhm.
Just to get, kumbaga kasi it still goes back to that second chance, the
Yeah.
recovery.
Mm. Dignity should not be viewed in a material sense. I think dignity is what you do, ano? Kung halimbawa, you're able to maintain your lifestyle, pero may mga, ano ka na, shenanigans ka ng ginagawa, nagnanakaw ka na, or sumisimple ka na hindi tama, ano? Yan ang walang dignity. But, to work, as you say nga, as a caminero, parang feeling mo, that's below my pay grade effect.
Mhm.
Hindi po loss of dignity yan. That is really being a survivor. And again, as I go back to think about it as something which is temporary. So the beauty of knowing your skills is that you don't really have to work as a caminero kung hindi mo feel ang magkaminero, and you have other things that you can do that people will make use of. Sabi ko nga eh, alam mo yung sa Japanese, yung ikigai, sabi nila, it is the intersection of that which you are good at, that which you are fond of doing, that which the world needs from you, and that which you can earn from. So hanapin po natin kung ano yung ating kanya-kanyang intersection, kanya-kanyang ikigai. And for sure, yan, magkakaroon tayo ng pagkakakitaan.
No, in fact, I can give you an example. This morning at 4:30 in the morning, I was praying to the Lord and parang biglang sabi ko, alam mo Lord, I would love to be a Dear Abby kind of guy. The male version of Dear Abby na yung bang nagbibigay ng counseling,
Mm.
advice on air, online, online. Kasi at my age, sobrang
Yes,
dami ko ng dinaan ng giyera,
correct.
pagsubok at trauma. And I think, following your Ikigai model, I could actually make a living out of it if I wanted to, no? But just setting as an example for our viewers, what other things or livelihood can you think of that people can consider, for instance?
Yeah, it will now start with what you are good at. What you are good at and what you are fond of doing. Kasi naman, baka naman you're so fond of doing this, hindi ka naman magaling, ano? So, to each his own talaga yan eh. Kailangang alamin mo. From my personal experience, when I became a housewife, and then my husband said, oh, do you want to invest in this parang fast food restaurant, just because we sat in a party with some neighbors who were
Mhm.
really having a thriving fast food stall in Shangri-La Mall. So we got, and oh my gosh, hindi ko yung linya eh. So when
Mhm.
it was just breaking even, stop na talaga. So yun. And then I found writing and
Mhm.
sharing with my first book kasi, and I started to be invited to give talks. And I was invited by Phil Star to write a column, how to raising your children with high FQ. FQ is financial quotient, your ability to make sound decisions and actions with regard to your
Mhm.
personal finances. So yun, nung nakuha ko na, this is what I like. And I'm sort of good at this kasi I'm a finance person. I raised my sons to have high FQ. I have something to share. So
Mhm.
now, when you are not so concerned then about, may pagkakakitaan ba dyan o wala? Parang it also helps you become very joyful to work with siguro, no? And
Mhm.
then the money will follow, ika nga.
Well, that's a good line, Rose. No, the money will follow because some people who've asked me for advice, sabi ko, huwag kang mag-give up. Tulungan mo yung kliyente na yan na naghihirap. Kasi may mga clients na who want to bail because they're cutting and they don't want to lose too much money. I said, don't cut the relationship. Give your work for free if you need to because at least you will be productive and they
Yes.
will be appreciative. And pag
Mm-mm.
nakabawi na, makakabawi kayong sabay. And when you
Yeah.
were talking about yung writing books, etc., it just occurred to me, maraming tao, they want to put up their own gardens, but they don't know how. If you're good at gardening, kung plantita to the max ka, di make it a business, di ba? We will be your startup. Because I watch all of this home building thingamajiggy online. And meron pala yung sinasawang, may tinatawag sila yung nagse-set up ba? Yung
Mm.
pagkatapos magawa yung bahay, papasok siya, lalagyan niya ng furniture, etc. Pero inuupahan lang for a few $1,000s. So kumbaga, kung marami
Wow.
kayong gamit, imbis na
Mm-mm.
ibinebenta, gawin yung business, di ba? So anyway,
That's
Rose,
right.
last tip please, pero please you'll come back ha.
Sure.
Masarap na usapan to, lalo na yung FQ for kids, financial quotient for kids.
Mm-mm.
Last
So,
tip.
papaano? Okay, last tip. Start them very, very young. I believe that FQ, financial quotient, is a very important life skill that should be taught right from the very start. When your children are born, open a bank account for them, and then yung mga angpaw nila ilagay nyo na dyan. When they start asking you about money, you have something to show. And then if you are the kind of family who gives regular allowance, nako, sabihan nyo na yung anak nyo, you have to follow the basic laws of money. First and foremost is to pay yourself first, which is now always setting aside something for saving. So that's what we did with our sons. And fortunately, now that they're all grown up, okay naman na sila.
Okay. Well, Rose, I'll have to say goodbye because we have the presidential forum coming in. But thank you for joining us. And please, we hope to invite you very soon. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Sito.
Okay, that's Rose Fres Fausto. And before we close the program this week, I bring you the week's blessings. And yun po, meron pa ba tayong oras? Parang, oops, okay, there we go. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Thank you for joining us here on Agenda. Keep it here on One News PH.